Breaking news! There's some big news making waves around the web, and the Atlanta Falcons have made some significant changes to the team. Let's break it down. But first, make sure to hit that like button and stick around until the end to stay informed. The Falcons have made a big move, and there's a lot to unpack here. A familiar face is back in town, a key piece of the defense is gone, and free agency has been anything but quiet. But the real story? Grady Jarrett's departure wasn't just a business decision, it was a shock even to him. That's right, one of the most beloved players in recent Falcons history didn't see it coming. If he didn't expect it, just imagine how the rest of us feel. Let's start with the returning name, K'Lavon Chaisson. The defensive tackle is back for another round with the Dirty Birds. You might remember that Chaisson was acquired mid-season last year when Grady Jarrett went down. He played well in limited snaps but ended up on injured reserve. Now he's back, and with Jarrett out of the picture, he could have a much bigger role. Contract details haven't been released yet, but it's expected to be a one-year deal at or near the veteran minimum. It's not a huge investment, but it's a move that makes sense given the current state of the defensive line. Speaking of the defensive line, this group is going through a transition. You've got young players like Rook Hororo, Zach Harrison, and Brandon Dorlus looking to establish themselves, while veterans like David Onyemata and now Chaisson are there to provide experience. The Falcons' defense as a whole is still a work in progress, and even with these moves, it feels like there's more to be done. The draft will be a key moment to address some of these gaps, but don't be surprised if Atlanta makes another move or two in free agency. Now let's zoom out a bit and look at the defense as a whole. The inside linebacker battle is heating up between Deion Jones and Troy Anderson. Arnold Ebiketie, a former second-round pick, is heading into the final year of his rookie deal, but he hasn't quite had the breakout season everyone hoped for. And in the secondary, there are still some questions. Is Clark Phillips the right fit for the nickel position? Will D. Alfred return? What about Justin Simmons? There's a lot to consider as the Falcons continue to shape their roster. Falcons defense, a work in progress. Right now, DeMarco Hellams is penciled in as the starting safety, but there's a feeling that Atlanta might add another corner or two before the season kicks off. So, how good is this Falcons defense as it stands? Let's be honest, last season they were below average. A generous grade might be a C, but even that feels optimistic. There's talent here, no doubt. With players like A.J. Terrell, Jesse Bates, and Leonard Floyd, there are pieces to build around. However, as a unit, they need to step up if this team is going to make real noise in 2024. Now, back to the story that's been making waves. Grady Jarrett's departure. Falcons fans, this one hurts. Jarrett wasn't just a great player. He was a leader, a fan favorite, and someone who truly embodied what it meant to play for Atlanta. His farewell message to the city was heartfelt, but one line stood out. He didn't see this coming. That's right. Grady Jarrett, a cornerstone of this defense for nearly a decade, was caught off guard by the team's decision to release him. Think about that for a second. The Falcons could have tried to trade him or at least given him a heads up. Instead, they cut him outright. Sure, it was a move that saved cap space, but it also sent a clear message. This team is moving on, and they're doing it fast. Was it the right call? That's up for debate. Jarrett was coming off an ACL injury, and at 31, he's not the same player he once was. But even so, the way this unfolded leaves a sour taste. Now Grady is headed to Chicago to join the Bears. He made it clear that he's excited for his next chapter, but you could hear the emotion in his voice when he talked about his time in Atlanta. He played with pride and passion, and he wanted fans to know that every time he stepped on that field, he gave it everything he had. That's what makes this tough. This wasn't just another transaction. Losing a player like Grady Jarrett isn't just about stats, it's about heart and leadership. The impact of Grady Jarrett's departure. It's about identity, and for a franchise trying to build a winning culture, losing one of its true leaders is a risky move. So now, I turn it over to you, Falcons fans. How do you feel about this? Was releasing Grady Jarrett the right call? Should the team have handled it differently? And what do you think about the moves they've made so far in free agency? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's not forget, Grady Jarrett wasn't just any player. He was the heartbeat of this defense. He set the tone in the locker room and on the field. When you think about the modern history of the Falcons, his name is right up there with some of the best. He dominated in the biggest game this franchise has ever played, Super Bowl 51, where he recorded 3 sacks against Tom Brady. That's legendary. And now he's gone. Not traded, not given a chance to retire as a Falcon, but cut. That's why this move stings. But let's shift gears for a moment. The Falcons have been busy in free agency, but if we're being honest, it's been more about retaining their own players than bringing in big names. Look at the list. Taquan Graham, Kader Al-Hodge, Brandon Parker, and Storm Norton. These are depth pieces, not game changers. The biggest external additions have been Deion Jones at linebacker on a 2-year, $14 million deal, and Leonard Floyd, a veteran pass rusher who has bounced around the league. Floyd is a solid player, but the question remains, are these moves enough to elevate the Falcons' defense? The team has some work to do if they want to compete at a higher level next season. The Falcons' future. What's the plan? At this stage in his career, Leonard Floyd isn't a long-term solution, and that brings us to the big question. What's the plan? Right now, it feels like the Falcons are stuck between 2 timelines. They have young talent, sure, but they're also relying on a lot of veterans who may not be part of the future. This is a team that wants to compete now, but are they really built for it? If the goal is to make a playoff push, the defense still has holes. They need another pass rusher, another cornerback, and they need to figure out if the players they already have, like Arnold Ebiketie and Clark Phillips, are ready to take that next step. The good news? The draft is right around the corner, and Atlanta has a chance to make a splash. But if they don't, this could end up being another year of mediocrity. Let's be real. Falcons fans are tired of mediocrity. We've seen too many seasons of almost, what if, and just waiting until next year. This team hasn't had a winning record since 2017, which is a long time. While there's optimism with a new coaching staff, new schemes, and a fresh vision, results need to follow at some point. One move that definitely raised eyebrows was the decision not to pursue former Georgia Bulldog Nolan Smith, who signed a 1-year, $4 million deal with the Eagles. This is a player who, despite injuries, has shown flashes of being a real pass rush threat. For just $4 million, that's a bargain. If the Falcons didn't even make an offer, that's frustrating. Are you telling me they wouldn't pay an extra $1 million to land a guy with a high ceiling? Either they weren't interested, or Smith simply wanted to chase a ring in Philly. Either way, it feels like a missed opportunity. Then there's the secondary. We still don't know if D. Alfred is coming back, and we're uncertain if Clark Phillips is ready for a full-time role in the slot. Will they add a veteran to help stabilize things? Right now, DeMarco Hellams is penciled in as the starting safety, but is he ready for that responsibility? These are real concerns that need to be addressed if this defense is going to take a step forward. So, where does that leave the Falcons? They're in a tricky spot. There's talent here, no doubt about it. Jesse Bates III was a huge addition last year, and A.J. Terrell is still one of the better young corners in the league. There are pieces, but is it enough? That's the question. And this is where you come in, Falcons fans. What do you think about how this offseason is shaping up? Are you happy with the moves? Do you think letting go of Grady Jarrett was the right decision? What still needs to be done before the season starts? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel to stay informed. Go Falcons!